It's interesting. Kids ministry and student ministry seems to always get pretty good results. And adult ministry, well, it feels like it often gets stuck. And most pastors assume that that's just the way it is. But what if it's not just the way it is? What if it's not about culture or commitment or effort? What if it's about intention? Today, in this conversation, I want to talk about why adult discipleship often stalls, even in healthy churches, and how a simple little shift in how we communicate can restore momentum without adding a lot of pressure on you. If you're a pastor, I'm guessing you have felt this, right? You cast vision, you explain the opportunity, you make the ask to join a group or volunteer, and then not much happens. I mean, potential volunteers kind of hesitate. Giving doesn't really go up at all. Groups are struggling to gain more traction. And what makes this frustrating is that you know that your people would benefit from these steps too, and you know that they kind of care. Like you see it in kids ministry, you see it in student ministry, engagement is happening there. So what's wrong with the adults? Most pastors assume that the problem is motivation or busyness or maybe spiritual apathy. And in some cases, that might be true, but I'm not sure it's the number one issue. I think adult ministry stalls because we unintentionally stop practicing the kind of ministry that we already believe in, that we already know works. The solution is found in a word I use all the time, and it's one of my favorite concepts for us to talk about in church: segmentation. Segmentation. Think about kids ministry just as an example. We don't put a preschooler in with a fifth grade room and say, I'm sure they'll figure it out. We don't walk a middle schooler into adult worship and say, good luck, I hope the message hits home for you. You know what we do? We segment intentionally. We adjust language, we design environments, we clarify expectations, we offer appropriate next steps. And no one calls that unbiblical. You know what we do? We call it good ministry. And by the way, even if your church has kids in the auditorium with you, in the sanctuary, even sometimes you will look at the kids or look at the high school students, look at the middle school students and say, hey, if you're in high school, here's how you can think about this. Or maybe it's school tomorrow, right? You already are speaking to these different groups of people. You know what you're doing? You're segmenting the conversation. So our kids get this, our students get this. And then people turn 18 and suddenly we stop, right? Adults get the exact same announcements, the same giving asks, the same volunteer appeal, the same group promotion. It doesn't matter if you're 18 to 88, right? We kind of treat everyone the exact same. And then we wonder why engagement slows down, right? Now, segmentation, right? It is not a business tactic. It's really, listen to this, it's pastoral care applied more intentionally. That's really all it is. It's simply designing messages and invitations and steps with specific people in mind. And when we don't do that, right, communication becomes kind of, I'll use a fun word, people blind. We speak to everyone, which means we often directly address no one. You see this in giving, right? A first-time giver, a consistent giver, or maybe a legacy giver, they can't hear the exact same message, the exact same ask, and feel equally compelled to take a step. That's not clarity, and it doesn't grow giving. If you see this in volunteering, right? Like a new believer, if they receive the exact same invitation from the stage as the seasoned, spiritually mature leader, they're not going to respond the same. A parent, with maybe young kids being given the same message that a retired couple, they're not going to hear it the same way, right? Groups, for instance, right? Everyone is told that they should be in a group, but if we don't account for their readiness, their season, their capacity, that they're not going to get in a group. They're going to opt out of that step for sure. The issue, right, is not unwilling people. This is a big deal. It's unclear pathways and poor segmentation. That's the problem. So there is a very simple shift that you can make that isn't going to take you hardly any time at all. And that is the best news of this, maybe. You don't need a big overhauled system or expensive software. You don't need that. Before you make another ask of any kind, engagement, baptism, get in a group, I mean, you name it, whatever it's going to be, I want you to ask one question first. Here it is. Who is this for? That's the first question that you should ask. Okay, what you're going to ask is great, but who is it for? And once you've identified, follow up with a few other questions, right? Who is this for? And then what would make this step clearer for this person? What would make it more attainable for this person? You know, that single moment of intentional thinking is going to remove so much friction from your discipleship pathway. When people kind of feel seen and feel understood, engagement doesn't even need to be forced anymore. It almost becomes just a natural response. So if adult ministry, if engagement and discipleship, if all those things in adult ministry, if it feels kind of heavy now, I'm not really sure what to do, it might not be that you're doing the wrong things. It might just be that you're not talking to people the right way. That's what intentional leaders do, and it lightens the load dramatically. And as I said already, here's some good news. You already are doing a lot of the right things. You might just not be communicating them the right way to the right people. So ask those questions. Start with who is it for, and then begin to think about how you can talk to that category of people in light of the step you're asking them to take.